Well, we're kind of oozing through Pocatello, Idaho.
We are.
We've come north in search of an eclipsing sun. But everybody said there would be too many people, so we figured, well, we'll make a trip out of it and we'll chase the Oregon Short Line, the OSL, all the way up to totality of Eclipse. I will call that the northernmost point on the OSL, even though it actually goes all the way up to Portland. We're not going to do that. We're just going to go until the sun goes away and then turn around and come back. So this should be an enormous amount of fun, or it could be incredibly challenging depending on the traffic, because there is some right here. Why are people in the road?
Why are there people in the road?
Anyway, we're
gonna by the college. That's why.
Anyway, we're off to see an eclipse by way of the Oregon Short Line. So this is the part of the world we're heading into, Idaho. The eclipse will be total here. This is also the area that is served by the old Oregon Short Line Railroad, a spider web of lines that went all over the place. They started building the line in Granger, Wyoming, connecting to the Union Pacific, and then up along the old Oregon Trail into Idaho to serve all of these little communities. The Oregon Trail has always been a major thoroughfare for people heading west, and look, part of it's still in use. It's paved and used as a road. The tracks run right alongside the old Oregon Trail from Granger all the way up to McCammon, Idaho, and there it connected with a narrow gauge railroad, the Utah and Northern, and from there both railroads continued up into Pocatello, Idaho. This meant adding a third rail to the Utah and Northern for the standard gauge Oregon Short Line trains. Pocatello was the hub of activity for both the Oregon Short Line and the Utah and Northern, and pretty soon the Utah and Northern had to be standard gauged all the way to Salt Lake City and really became part of the Oregon Short Line. And soon enough, the entire network became part of the Union Pacific, but they continued to call it the Oregon Short Line. This area was once a huge roundhouse, something on the scale of Cheyenne, Wyoming. But nowadays, there's just nothing here except this huge expanse of land. Almost everything is torn down, as this work is now done in Salt Lake City. But that doesn't mean that Pocatello isn't still a major and important hub, as trains coming in from the Pacific Northwest will either head for Salt Lake City or to Granger to continue down the Union Pacific east. But it's still a hive of switching activity with so much going on. And while there's no major shopping going on here, that doesn't mean that there aren't scores of locomotives being prepared and fueled here, which means you never know what you might run into here. Of course, you want to stay well away from the tracks, or something might run into you instead.
We traveled to Pocatello last spring to see the 844 when it arrived in town. How fun!
844 is, of course, Union Pacific's really cool steam engine that they never retired, and they had just rebuilt it and were out screwing around with it. This is Old Town Pocatello, and it's in really good shape. This is the Hotel Yellowstone, and it's right next to the depot, the OSL Depot. Not used anymore, unfortunately. Amtrak used to come through here until 1997, but since then there's been no passenger trains using this depot at all.
This is really a beautiful old depot. I love the look on the outside. And the inside, look at the quartered oak doors. We did peek through the windows. And look, it's just as neat as a pin in there. Beautiful inside. Too bad we really couldn't get in there.
I actually came through this depot in 1962 on our way to the Seattle World's Fair. And, well, I was pretty much asleep as we came through the Pocatello Depot. But I've been here before when it was actually being used. And check it out, there's a model railroad club right here in the parking lot of the depot, the Pocatello Model Railroad and Historical Society. They're only open one day a month, and well, that doesn't happen to be on Eclipse Day. So we're just going to continue north in search of the Eclipse.
I decided to get off the main freeway, I-15, to avoid traffic and take the scenic Highway 91 through the Fort Hall Indian Reservation. This highway takes us right through Blackfoot, Idaho.
Here in Blackfoot, they've got another Oregon Shortline depot, a really, really nice little depot. I think it's kind of cool that the old wiring for the signaling systems is all still being used as well. It's a beautiful little depot, kind of a mixture of stone and concrete. And they've got a cool Union Pacific caboose, CA9, if I know my Union Pacific cabooses. For some reason, they've buried it and it's sitting in a hole. And they've just buried it so that the floor is at ground level. Well, that's kind of peculiar, but things are about to get way more peculiar.
They're using it as the Idaho Potato Museum.
Now, while it's a museum to potatoes, I found it also to be something of a museum to corn, and possibly cheese, and definitely kitsch. In this display, three-dimensional talking potatoes explain how potatoes are harvested and processed.
Ah, a family of couch potatoes.
And I think the little one's falling asleep. Well, the day is getting slightly late, meaning that it's almost eclipse time. We're going to continue to follow the tracks north, see if we can't make it all the way to Shelley, Idaho, to watch the eclipse. Well, here we are in Shelley, Idaho. You can see that the old Oregon Shortline tracks run right along the side of North State Street, so we picked ourselves out a nice little place in the park to watch the eclipse from.
I wanted to come to Shelley, Idaho for a number of reasons. Number one was the eclipse, of course, but Shelley, Idaho was the home of the man we bought my childhood house from. My parents rented the house, and he'd used it for a rental, but they bought it from him in 1964.
We'd really been afraid that there were going to be massive crowds, but here in Shelley, just not at all. A lot of people waiting to see the eclipse, but not that many.
It reminded me of small town 4th of July.
Yeah, it was just fun. And yeah, the sun was eclipsing. You had to put your glasses on to see it, but pretty soon it started getting more and more intense, and, well, it became quite a show. Wow! seen video of eclipses.
Oh, so have I. I've been in partially.
Well, I've seen partial eclipses, you know, with the glasses and stuff, and
a
it's cool.
little hole in the box.
But until you've seen a total eclipse, it's just like jaw-dropping. It's like, seriously, that happened.
Yeah, totally amazing.
Unbelievable. Just absolutely unbelievable. Like nothing we've seen.
Right.
And we got to chase the Oregon shoreline too.
Besides that.
So there were trains involved. So that just, trains always make it better. Hot rods and trains will always make any event better. So.
I had him from one end of Pocatello to the other.
That's right. Well, she used to live in Pocatello. She's gotten around a bit.
Oh, geez, yes.
So she was okay. Well, anyway, if you haven't been over to the website, do pop on over to the website and check that out. ToymanTelevision.com. Of course, the big thing is the channel right here on YouTube, Toyman Television. And should you not be a subscriber to the channel, shame on you. Because it doesn't cost anything. It isn't painful. It's not like going to the dentist or anything. You just click on the blue button. It makes you a subscriber, takes you to the channel, and you can watch over 200 other movies. And it all requires only clicking on the blue button. Now, if you're already a subscriber, of course you're not going to double subscribe or unsubscribe or anything. It's just going to take you to the channel. So you can still click on the blue button. Are you ready for the blue button? Zoink! It's right over here. That blue button is the horn button.
The Ford horn button.
And
I'd honk it, but this truck...
No,
No, he's got one of those signs in his window. He might come back.
The subscribe blue button. We're not sure how you found this movie on the internet. We hope you didn't find it boring. And we will see you here again in 1 week or less with some more massive screwing around. See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.